I get asked very often about how do we start with shadow work, and how do we sort of identify the shadow. I've got my own sort of list of ideas and answers, but can I get your take on that?
Well, the simple take on it is really, well, it's manifold. Let's get that straight. Nobody can give a, spinner rack definition of it. But I would certainly say that real shadow work involves the body, right? Okay, so we have a split brain where the left brain is all the ego defenses, right? And that exists primarily because of trauma. It started with the ancestral trauma, so we needed something that was like a sensor, a gasket, a sphincter, to limit it. Otherwise, we were psychotic. And according to Julian James, we were. He calls it the bicameral period. And the only way that human consciousness during the bicameral period stayed together in some semblance of sanity was because of the instructional voices of the gods, right? We'll get back to that later. This is how religion, sticks around. Okay, so then later on, as things developed and the traumas, years went by and the trauma lessened slightly, this would be like the late Homeric period. All the Jews, the original Judaism, original Christianity, it's like the life of Brian, right? They were all running around traumatized. That's how you get these bat crazy religions worshipping, Moloch or whatever the hell it was, Jehovah. You get all of that because of this trauma that I'm talking about. As things, sort of improved or whatever, the left brain became the instructional voice of the gods and sectioned off that. Then when an individual is born, it's doing the same thing on the ontogenetic level, suppressing those very emotions of rage and shame and self-doubt, you see, and deep criticism, and even according to Melanie Klein, murderous feelings, right, that the child has towards the parents. Go figure, right? And I will be doing podcasts galore on that down the line. But this censoring aspect, by pushing things into the right brain has all the memory of all of that, right? The right brain. And then the body is also then in deep communion with that right brain. So all the ailments of the body through the polyvagal system, we don't want to get into how it's all, the technique of it. It's really through the parasympathetic system. Memorizes, or the Eastern people would say that it's in the meridians, right? It's in the actual nadis. It's in your cellular makeup. Like a Bruce Lipton would say, it's in the cellular makeup of your being. It's right there in the DNA. Is the memory not only of the ancient trauma, but all the physical trauma you've experienced as an individual. Well, what this means is that Wilhelm Reich understood this, that the structure of the body, and you had a question, I know, about chakras and all of that, or one of your members did. See, the way to understand that is not as it's presented in the East. At least for me, it doesn't work at all. Mm-hmm. Because it involves too much of a concept of higher and lower, and I'm already super suspicious of that. Doesn't mean it's not true, but as far as I'm concerned, any concept of highers and lowers already weakens, right? From an existential, metaphysical point of view, you're already on weird ground there. You're on Gnostic ground and theological, religious ground, which could be completely false, right? Wilhelm Reich's idea was a sort of a dialogue or conversation between energy more in this way, from the core of the body to the surface of the body. Now, in the core and in the surface and in the middle area, all of these traumatic memories are kept in the fibers and meridians of the body. So the way that I would recommend people to get into it, it's a very bizarre recommendation, but I stand by it for many, many decades now. And I certainly wouldn't recommend anything I haven't tried myself or researched. And that is that you must start factoring in the body. And whatever way you want to do that is your own gig, right? It's about getting into physical culture. But I don't mean jogging and weightlifting. I mean Qigong, Tai Chi, Aikido, things like that. Or a kind of amalgam, right, of those with Pilates and with various Hatha yoga. I'm a big believer in that. Although you got to watch where you go with that. When I mean Hatha yoga, I mean staying within that body culture and not getting into some of the other yogas of the East that could bring a lot of trouble, because they're essentially Gnostic, which is world denying and body denying and all of that, and we don't want to go there, right? But yeah, within Hatha yoga, there's some very important practices. But the only thing is that your neighbor can be doing the practice without a clue what we're talking about, unaware for 60 years that it's to do with shadow work. Once you've made that connection, though, oh my God, the whole thing opens up. So even tapping, all of these different things become important now. But Tai Chi, Qigong, the beginning exercises of Aikido, stretching, but you have to do it with a consciousness that this is helping your body release all of that stuff that the left brain simply will not allow you to bring out because of its defenses, unfortunately. So it's preserving authentic feelings. None of this will work until you realize that what is contained in the body, what we call shadow, is authentic, and it is legitimate. And you're restoring yourself. If you don't have that firmly within your mind, what's the point of doing it? It's just like, it becomes routine, it becomes a rote thing. It will, here's that quote I had earlier. Self-knowledge, in Freud's sense, is not an intellectual process alone. It is not only knowledge of the brain, but also knowledge of the heart. Erich Fromm, right? Talking about Freud. So there you have it. But when you go to Grodek, right? When you go to Reich, Lauan, Janov, read those people, read their books. I know that you've been posting brilliant stuff on Reich. On Erich Fromm and others, right? And this is very, very important to realize that even psychology now, even of a quite technical level, by the way, has accepted that the soma, right, is as important as the psyche. And let's just say that it preserves the wisdom that you lost. So the irritant today, the stress, the feeling I'm a half a person, something's missing in life, right? It's right here. It's not out there. It's not in the other coming into your life to change you. It's in this thing that you've been carrying, that you just think is a vehicle. All of the psychic elements are preserved in the body. So that's a long-winded way of saying, come into awareness of the body. It's not knowing, it's awareness. It's a different thing. It's a sense, and when I use the word sensitization, I mean because you're not dictating to it. You're sensitized to listen to it. There's a different comportment. Instead of going, instead of dictating, right, which is what we do all day long. Now the sensitization is receptivity, in which you're listening to the voices of the archetypes, but the archetypes are also present in terms of your soma. This is the key missing thing. Even a lot of Jungians don't get this yet.